Hi and welcome to Decimal Wargaming. We're back with another painting tutorial. So as you see, I'm going to be doing some of these nurgle plague toads for an upcoming project. So carrying on with my nurgle theme, I am going to paint these in a traditional sort of Caucasian skin tone. As I have done, you might see it on my Instagram. Other things like that, other examples. So to start off with, I have just drilled the bottom of it and I've pinned it to a cork. I just find it's easier as this is going to be part of a bigger piece. And I've sprayed it black and then I've gone over it. You see it's still a little bit wet. I've gone over it in, is it the Abaddon black? Just to give it a nice smooth coverage. So yeah, this works for any sort of Caucasian skin tones that you want to experiment with. So yeah, let's jump into it. Right, so now that we're ready to start work on this project, what I've got is I've gone with a Bugman's Glow from Citadel. I'm using a makeup brush, so you can use the army painter like I am, or Artis Opus. I have Artis Opus ones as well. All work really well. Tissue and a little bit of water. Keep the brush slightly damp at all times. Add the paint, so I've got loads of paint on this tissue here, and then rubbing it off in a bit of moisture, so everything's on one bit of tissue for me. And what I'm going to do is just do a slight start at the top, a dabbing motion. So we don't want to get a full coverage. We just want to add this colour to the main areas of interest, and we don't want a dry brush. So what I want, I don't want to get any of that sort of scratchy texture. I want to keep it as smooth as I can. So we'll just fast forward this a little bit for you. Right, so now with that messy step done, we're going to go in the same technique, but with some Cadian flesh tone. Again, we're just going to add it to points of interest. Not worrying too much about keeping it smooth at this point. We're just trying to pick out where light would hit, so the more raised areas, and where we want to pull the detail out from. Then we'll add some areas of interest and smooth out as we go through even further. And just to finish up the messy stage, we're going to go in with a normal dry brush this time, and some Kislev flesh. And we are going to just do a little bit of dry brushing, just to bring out the details. Now the contrast is going to be pushed really high to begin with, so it looks quite light and it looks like quite messy. But what pushing the contrast this high does, it allows us to use things like shades and glazes and things like that, and we can bring this down quite a long way without losing all the colour gradient that we've built up. It doesn't matter if it's patchy, this is just going to lend itself to more realism, I believe, later on. This is just what works well for me. Right, so now what I'm going to do, I'm bringing out my Artist Opus Series S brushes. I've got a wet palette with some Corvus Black on in different stages of thinness. Everything from out the pot to a glaze and a wash. And I've still got a bit of damp tissue with my sort of skin tones, my Cadian flesh tone and my Chisel flesh. I'm going to sort of to and fro between these. I'm just going to drop some Corvus Black into the recesses. So some of the real thin stuff. So that'll help knock the colour back. I'll just concentrate on the face for now. So you can see, and then I can do the rest of it after the fact. So this works for any model you want to do this sort of skin tone on, really. But yeah, I think nurgle just looks particularly creepy with this. So I just want to record this best I can, just to show the process. So it can be a bit time consuming now, depending on the model. So if you're just doing faces and things like that, like on smaller miniatures, it's okay. But you can just see how this Corvus Black is just defining all of the areas we've just done very roughly with the sort of dry brush techniques. The reason I'm using a really small brush as well is it's because I don't want to overload the brush, because I'm using paints rather than shades to do my shading. I just need that little bit more control over it. I don't want to be flooding the model, and yeah, I just think this allows, and it allows me to go back and forth, because the idea is that what I would do while the paint's still wet, I've sort of got the face down like this. While I've still got some of that Corvus Black, I'm not going to wash the brush in between. I'm literally going to go and I'm going to get some of my what colour am I using? Cadian flesh tone, I believe. So yeah, and then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use this sort of dabbing motion. I'm going to go up to Kislev. Just want to highlight around the eye there. Little downward strokes towards the teeth. Knock that back there. Right, some of that shade's a bit harsh there. Again, this is stuff as well that, like, I think that you sort of learn as you try it. It's not something that maybe you're automatically going to be able to do. I certainly couldn't. I've had to experiment around and find my own way of doing it. One thing that I have learned with doing things like this, and it's from David Soper, the gent that he is smoothness is a texture. So by using the fine brush to sort of dab on the model, making small micro textures, can give you lovely smooth blends. I'm not after totally smooth with this, because nurgle and everything, but yeah, so some of David's nurgle stuff has definitely inspired me, so I recommend, if you haven't, do go and check him out. Okay, so we've done some highlighting. I'm going to go back in with my Corvus now, and it's sort of a back and forth, so you can refine this as much as you like, really. It's just until you're happy. Back and forth between the corvus and your skin tones to get a nice smooth blend between all of them. So I'm going to shut this off now and do the rest of the model, and be right back. Alright, so there we are. Sort of roughly blended through with the corvus black. So yeah, now we just want to add some more areas of interest, and to do this we're going to do some Druchii Violet that's thinned, and some Flesh Terror's red contrast that's quite extremely thinned. And we're just going to go through with some Druchii Violet, and we are just going to add some areas of bruising. So thinning it slightly helps to stop it appearing as a stain, and more of a part of the blend. So anywhere where like horns are showing through, and again in true fashion to this painting style, we are going to go back and forth between the red and the purple. The red will add life to the parts that are raised, anything like that. It'll just make it pop. The purple will give it more of a cold tone, so it's great for bruising, it's great for shadow. These are two things I do on any skin tone. It's just the recipe that I use. Right, so you can see on my thumb how thin it is, and I'm literally just going back and forth. So there's a slight area of bruising in there. I'm going to bring it round the skull there. And it's just a matter of working your way around the mini. Alright, so that's some more red. Right, plenty of red down here. Thin it out. If you think you've gone a bit heavy on one of these, just load your brush up with some fresh water, add it to the model, or dilute it, and bring the paint straight off of the model. Dry your brush, and then soak it up. You've got plenty of time to play around with it while it's still on the miniature. Into that shadow there. I'm just going to push quite a bit into that shadow, all on the underbelly. And as we come up to this side here, I'm going to blend some red. Into there. I don't know how well it's coming across. So these steps are very subtle. We're not wanting to overload the model too quickly. I think it's enough of me chatting on this anyway. It's just this sort of steps, so I'm just going to carry on, and I'll be back when it's done. Right, so with all that step done, we are looking at a little something like this. So what I'm going to do now is I am doing a bit of a mix on the wet palette. I'm using some of our Kislev Flesh, mixing a bit of Ulthur and Grey. Just trying to work in some extra highlights, making sure it's thin enough. Want to be able to correct any mistakes easily. keeping the paint nice and thin helps us do that. Just trying to build up some line texture. Like so. Really, this is sort of where I would end this technique. Obviously going back and forth between the stages, that's something that I do from time to time. If I'm after a different hue or a slightly different tone to what I'm doing, but ultimately the steps stay the same. So I'm just going to add a bit more lithium grey into there. I want to just see how that looks. Obviously I don't want to push it too much into the highlights. Right, so there you have it. Still not finished. I've just picked out like the inside of the mouth, the teeth, horns, eye, things like that, just to show you more of a finished product. Actually, around the back, like around here, it's not done on the skin yet. You can see where I've started to do it around these areas. But yeah, that's sort of the difference. I'll probably keep refining this a bit more until I'm completely happy. Like I say, it's quite rough and ready, but it does, I feel, make the skin tone feel more alive. I say other examples you may have seen me do the same technique on. Things like this crinkly one, which is the current work in progress. Let's say same sort of technique, not done on the back yet, but started to blend it through. A lot smoother, the model itself, so may look slightly different, but overall it's the same technique. And again, the same on the Glotkin. It's so again just got smoother areas on it. So other than that, it's the same technique. Yeah, just try different skin tones. There's nothing stopping you experimenting on what colours you use. But yeah, that's how I paint those skin tones. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us over on Instagram. All the links will be in the description. And until next time, everyone, happy hobby.